Calhoun with Coveted Consultant. We're live on Facebook. This is our third broadcast. We know what's going on here, so let's just get to work. We are talking about how to build a better agency, how to build a better digital agency, and there's three core fundamentals to get that done. You got to have clarity around client service. Clarity around client acquisition, how new clients come in. Clarity around client service, how you serve those clients. And then clarity around client retention, how you keep those clients for the long haul. And it matters a lot to me that you step back in your business and look at things and shape those things the way you actually want them to go. It's not about secrets, tricks, or hacks. It's about literally looking at your business as a business and shaping client acquisition, shaping client service, shaping client retention. For some people, there's somebody watching this video right now that is over trying to figure all this stuff out on your own. And so if you're over it, there is a link you can click right now in the description where you can select a time in order to speak with me, and we can talk about the program that I run. If you are right now, if you're not on Facebook and you're viewing this in some other platform, there's a training you can get access to, and at the end of that training, you can schedule some time so you know how the whole program works. Here's the thing, and this is something I thought about literally in the last 5 to 10 minutes preparing for today's call. This is really hard to figure out by yourself. How to do client acquisition right is really hard to figure out by yourself. How to get your service right so clients actually enjoy the service and are excited to stay is hard to figure out by yourself. Getting client retention right, turning that one-time job into a monthly job, into a retainer job, into a yearly job is hard to figure out by yourself. You know that, and that's part of why you are watching this video and getting watching content here and there. But what's not being said to you often enough and directly enough is that you have to make some decisions about your own business. So this idea of making client acquisition a system, this idea of making client service a system, it's not about some secret 4-step model that somebody invented and it always works and you make $1 million tomorrow and all that kind of good stuff. Well, it sounds great, but pragmatically, it begins with your decision. I am tired of taking in 100 different ideas. It is time for me to decide how client acquisition works inside my business. I need to decide to put a system around that. It is time for me to decide what client service looks like inside my business. I realize that I could sell this service, that service, this service. I could do it this way, that way, this way. I know it. I'm on all the newsletter lists. But I, inside my own business, need to decide how client service works in my business. That's a decision. I need to decide how I want clients to stay for the long term. I know I could do this, I could do that, I could do option A, option R, option Q, option X, option. I know that. I know that there's tons of options. But I need to make a decision about how I want client retention to work in my business. Those decisions are more challenging than it looks. Making those decisions is more difficult than it sounds. And I know it, there's content all over the place. But as you sit at your desk trying to figure out what to do next, the crunch gets bigger and bigger and tougher and louder and louder. Because you haven't made the decision. And I realize as a business coach that making those decisions are difficult. And you need help making those decisions. You need help looking at your options and saying, yeah, that's the best one. You need help. So not only am I trying to give you a core structure, client acquisition, client service, client retention, I'm admitting that those are decisions and you need help making those decisions. That's what my program is all about. Understanding client acquisition, client service, client retention inside your business and helping you decide so you can systemize. And we do it in 8 weeks. It's designed to be an 8-week sprint. You do it, you hit it, you move on. But we make decisions. It's not about the clever idea of the week or the day of the month. We make decisions. We roll out processes so you can get what you want in your business. Not enough places are communicating to you in this way. They're trying to sell you some clever hack tool trick. They want you to sign up next week for their next content piece, whatever. But as a business coach that really cares about what happens inside your business, I care about the choices you make. I care about what your business becomes. And until you make some choices, nothing will become. All right, great. So how's that for an introduction? So there's some things that have been, oh, by the way, so if you're overall at, right, it's time to make some choices, there's a link somewhere around this video, up, down, left, right, where you can click, schedule some time so we can have a conversation about what those decisions are, and then we can see if the program that I have will help you resolve and move forward. Okay? All right. So content of the day here. There's some themes that have showed up inside the Facebook group as of late, and I want to address those. I think that they're valuable, so I want to address them. Let's get to work. All right. So there was a conversation that we had in the Facebook group around avoiding getting to know you calls. We've all had this. This is a pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve of mine. So I want to keep myself under control and not kind of jump off a bridge here. All right. There are a lot of conversations that you can have in your business that are fundamental time wasters. They provide no value. They provide no value to you. They provide no value to who you're talking to. And even though you had a smile on your face and you were pleasant and it was nice to speak to them, and they had a smile on their face and it was pleasant and nice to speak to you, when you hang up that phone, when you get off the Skype call, when you leave that meeting, so what? It was good to talk to them. So what? Now, if we're talking about your friends and your family, it's good to catch up. Great. I totally get that. But right now we're talking about being in business. We're talking about serving clients. And you're having these conversations that are quasi about that, but not really about that. And there are a lot of conversations by many different names inside your business that end up becoming worthless, useless. They do not provide the value. And one of those is this getting to know you conversation. So folks will, ask to speak to you. Let's spend 15 minutes and let's just kind of talk about our businesses. I guess, but most people who make that ask, this is the point. Most people who make that ask are making a vague ask. They don't really know what they want to talk about when they get on the phone with you. They just want to be on the phone. Now, if they tell you what it is that they want to talk about, cool. Maybe you learn something new. Maybe you find a new outlet. Maybe you get a referral or don't or whatever. But most people that make that ask do not make a very clear ask. They just kind of ask to be on the phone. And so what ends up happening is the conversation kind of defaults back to a sales pitch. It defaults down to, well, let me tell you about what I do. And if I'm charismatic enough, you'll get excited and you'll want to buy it. That's not what you got on the call for, right? To be pitched something. That's not what they got on the call for, to be pitched something. Okay, so you need to be more protective, you need to respect your time more. Not about being rude, not about being blunt, but it is about being clear. So before you admit to being on the phone before you commit to being on the phone with anybody, get clear on the agenda. Well, if we speak today, John, if we speak today, Susie, what are we going to talk about? And oftentimes, whatever they put in the email could save you 30 minutes, save you 45 minutes, right? Because they just tell you what they want or what they don't want or what they want to talk about, and then you can make a decision. But you can't do that if you're not respecting your own time. What ends up happening when you protect your time better is both parties get more value from the conversation, both of you. And if a sales pitch is needed, great. Well, then tell me about what you do because I need some help. Can you help me? Great, wonderful. But have more purposeful, intentional conversations. All right. Now let's take that one level deeper. By the way, Emily, I've got a virtual assistant who's helping me out today. Emily, if you're on the call, just say hello. So I know that you're here. Just say hi in the chat box for me. So taking that idea one step deeper, and I'm gonna give you a phrase here, and you might want to write this phrase down. So I'll say it more than once. Content sets context for the conversation that closes clients. Content sets context for the conversation that closes clients. So then, why did I just say that in regards to being on the phone and having conversations? What you want is a client, right? So thinking that flow backwards. What you want is a client. So that client is going to come from a conversation. There's got to be a conversation. You and them got to talk somehow, some way. There's a conversation. In order for that conversation to happen, there's got to be some context, right? I just talked about that. What is the agenda? What are we talking about? What's the point? Do both of you know what's going to happen in this conversation? Set context. And the easiest way, the most powerful way to set context is with content. So whether it's a blog post, YouTube video, Facebook Live video, webinar, podcast, I don't care. There's 100 different content formats out there. But whatever, you take one of those, whatever it is you do the best, and create an awesome piece of content that makes it clear what you do and the problem you solve, setting real context, right? And then now we've got context. We can get on the phone together, have a conversation. And now we can actually close a client. We can finally get there. But if you are accepting conversations, without enough context, then you're going to have trouble closing clients. You're going to have trouble becoming a client and getting help from somebody else because you're not being deliberate enough, intentional enough, purposeful enough, clear enough about the context. And the best way to do that, we have all these tools available to us now. Content can do that. And you don't have to create a YouTube channel with 3 million subscribers. You don't have to drive hordes of traffic to a website. You don't have to do that. But if you don't make some decisions, if you don't get decisive about this content you create, and et cetera, you're gonna end up taking calls that don't resonate. And all you end up with is pain. You just end up being frustrated, mad, because the person on the other end of the phone doesn't get it. Might be your fault because you didn't create the content that set context for the conversation. There you have it. So that's a better way of avoiding. I just gave it to you. That if you think about that and let that kind of seep into your brain for a second, not only will it make a lot of sense, but it also begins to tell you what it is you got to do to move forward. So thank you, Emily. So Emily, we've got what's agenda point number 2. Please cue that up for us so we know what that is. Well, Emily's coming. I know she's coming. I know she got the notes. So I won't have you sit and wait in suspense. There might be a delay. Maybe I'm learning that. There might be a delay. Listen, learn. We're live. What do you do? Okay. So I'll keep moving here. So in a minute, Emily is gonna post something in the chat box there. Yep, about picking a niche. There it is. So so there was a conversation in the group that we were having around picking a niche, niching down. And how to market to those niches. So here's what happens. Here's what happens in your brain, right? You got to pick a niche. That's not new. That's not anything. Nothing. No fireworks on that one, right? You got to pick a niche. But what ends up happening very simply is this fear of loss when it's time to think about picking a niche. Well, I could serve all these people because I know digital marketing so well, right? So I could serve all these people, and if I choose to serve personality A or avatar A or target audience A, then I can't serve audience B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, right? Fear of loss. That bottom line, that's a fear of loss. If I serve this, if I do this, I can't get that. That's fear of loss. Okay. That fear of loss is keeping you from making a decision. Look at that. That fear of loss keeps you frozen because you don't make that choice. You stay frozen and you don't do anything. Okay. So then how do you think better about that? All right. Picking a niche, deciding on a niche to focus on, is not the last decision you're going to make inside your business. It's not the final choice you're ever going to make. In many cases, it's the first choice you make to moving your business forward. It's the first decision of this new agency you're going to create, of this new direction you're going to go in. It's not the last choice. It's often the first choice that focuses your effort. So in other words, you make this choice today, and there are some other choices you can make tomorrow. There's some other choices you can make as you go. You will often find that the niche that you begin with, or what you think is your niche, will refine as you go. You may end up pivoting to a new niche altogether, or you might redefine or reconsider the current niche you've chosen. But you can't move down the path if you don't choose something, if you don't do something. So the issue here is that we've got to think more intelligently. We've got to have this leadership perspective about the decision. We can't be afraid of making the decision. We know we got to make a decision. So making this decision, making this first decision, gives us a chance to make a second decision, a third decision, and a fourth decision. If we get all tight about the first decision, we won't make any decision, and then you just float. And then you just kind of do this wafting thing, right? And you felt that. You know what that's about. So you got to make a decision. Okay, great. Practically one level deeper than that. There is a place where your business is strongest. Whether you run a 1-person agency, a 5-person agency, a 15-person agency, a 50-person agency, there's a kind of project, a kind of offering, a kind of service deliverable that your company is best at. You need to admit that. You need to admit that we are better at PPC than we are at web design. You need to admit that we are better at web development, back end, than we are web design, front end. You need to admit that you are better at SEO than you are at creating content. You need to admit that you are awesome at creating content and at SEO. You need to admit, now there's many other ways you can twist that, but part of this conversation is flat out admitting where your company is best. Warning, that can be more difficult than it sounds, because right now you've served different types of clients and different types of niches. Right now, you may have different kind of clients in your business right now, and you're serving all of them, and it all feels like one big, jumbled up mess. And where you've tried to have a meeting with yourself over coffee, right? You sit down in the morning, I'm going to pick my niche, right? And you're eating your cereal and, drinking your orange juice, and it ain't coming, right? You're trying to force that magic moment of the magic niche falling from the sky, and it ain't coming. Because leaders, it's a more decisive choice than that, right? It doesn't just rain from the sky. You've got to make a choice. You've got to step back and plot it out, and okay, that makes more choice. Or that makes more sense. You gotta make a decisive decision and not expecting it to just rain from the sky. So I'm trying to give that some perspective, right? Okay, now one more level to that. One more level to that, because I know there's more to it. All right, I'm checking the notes. Okay, so now niche, right? Okay, so you gotta make a decision, right? It makes sense to niche where you're strongest, right? Duh, harder than it sounds. Niche where you're strongest, but then there's how do I deploy? So there's this, okay, so now let's say I got my niche, I know my core service, right? But how do I, 2 websites, 1 website, 2 Facebook pages, 1 Facebook page? How do I deploy? Right now, this can get really complex really fast. So let's think about that in the most precise way possible. You need to develop one place where you are speaking that one language about the one problem you solve. One place. So again, if that's 1 blog post, if that's 1 Facebook page, if that's 1 YouTube video, if that's 1 webinar, there's options galore, which can be confusing all by itself. But just for the sake of brevity here, one place, commit, one place. Hey, if you want to know about what we do, I made a blog post about it. It's right here. The whole deal, all of it, right here. right? That is how you deploy. Now, can you do it in a fancy way? Yes, you can write 19 ebooks about it. You can create 4 more webinars. You can get on 36 podcasts. You can do all that if you like. And there's value in doing those things. But I'm trying to keep it digestible so you know what to do next. One place. If you'll commit to that, make a decision, other things can happen, right? Okay, great. Emily, what's next? So there's a delay. I'm learning here because this is live. So while Emily is queuing us up, if you need help, if you know it's time to make choices and you need some help, there's a link around this button here or around this video here. Click it, schedule some time. Let's figure out if the program that I have can help you make these decisions, because until you make the decisions, it's all theory. It's all blah, blah, blah. It's all whatever. So client acquisition, client service, client retention. Let's make some decisions around that so you can move to the next phase that you want to be in. All right. So while that is queuing up, Emily in here in just a minute is gonna post about these questions you should be asking when you jump on the phone with somebody. All right. So if you're on the phone, or actually, let me frame that a bit better. So if you are on the phone with your best client, what is the most important information you need to know? Hey, Lynn. So Lynn is inside the program right now, and so Lynn's doing her work. She's making these decisions. So hey, Lynn, how are you? If you are on the phone right now with your best client, right, or best prospective client right now, what do you got to know right now? What are these top 3 things you got to know? So I'm going to give you a brief framework for that, and then I'm going to talk about why folks get it wrong. People get it absolutely fundamentally wrong. All right, here we go. In essence, you want to understand what they're doing today, what's going on today. You need to understand what they want to do, what they prefer to do, right? And we're talking about marketing services, right? So in some way, they want to grow their business, right? So today they're trying to grow, trying to figure out as best they can. Tomorrow they've got some goals, some objectives, something that they're trying to accomplish, and then there's a gap in the middle, right? So what you want, or where you are now, where you prefer to be, and in the center where my face is this gap, right? And so best case scenario, your service fits in this gap, right? Your service is what glues these two things together. It's what accelerates the connection. It's what gets them from here to here immediately. Best case, that's what happens. Okay. And that's what you want to know. That's the point of the conversation. What are you doing today? What would you rather do? What do you really want? Okay, so what's stopping that from happening? All right. Here's what I've learned over years of buying services from other people and for working with people like yourself as a business coach. Your prospective client is not nearly as clear about those things as you think they should be. That becomes problem number 1, is you want to just ask them a question. Hey, man, what are you doing today? And you're expecting bang, 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 bang as a response. And you don't get bang, 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 bang as a response. You get, we tried, you get this brainstorming kind of thing, right? You're expecting when you ask, well, what do you want to do tomorrow? Like, well, where you want to take this thing? Where you want it to grow? You're expecting bang, 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 objectives, goals, metrics, clarity, support systems, process, employees. You're expecting. That's not what you get. You get, we thought about, I don't know. You get that. And so now you started the conversation off the way the sales script told you. And now you're in this conversation with zero clarity. You've been on the phone 15 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, and you expected that prospective client to be laser sharp. And all of a sudden it's clear to you that they are not. And now you're overwhelmed. Now you've lost control of the conversation because the person on the other end is flailing. It's just flying around with their ideas. You expected clarity. It's not there. So then what that means is you've got to come to the conversation more prepared than you ever thought. Now you've got to come to the conversation like a real expert. Now you've got to come to the conversation with a context. Remember we talked about earlier about context, how content sets context? You've got to come to the conversation with real context for them to help them better understand what their current goals or what their current challenges are today, where they would prefer to be, and how your service can help them. You have to frame that. Whoa, never thought about that. How about the second major block is you are expecting to jump onto that conversation and immediately discuss digital marketing tactic of the day. You want to immediately talk about Google AdWords. You want to immediately talk about YouTube marketing. You want to immediately talk about web design fundamentals. You want to talk about SEO layouts and HTML coding and all the other fancy stuff that is in your email inbox every single day. You want to start the conversation there. And you see that you bring up the first marketing term, the first one, and the whole conversation dovetails because they have no idea what you're talking about. Worst part is they might even fake it. They might even act like they understand what you're saying, and they have no clue. So you took that, as they're faking it, you buy it. Oh, okay, great. And you move on to the next point of your sales script. And you really are not talking the same language. You're not speaking the same language. These are assumptions that you are bringing to the conversation. And those dangerous assumptions are destroying your conversations. You're having bad conversations, not because your prospective client is a prospective client. You're having bad conversations because you aren't prepared the way that you're supposed to be prepared. And I can't really be mad at you because there are a lot of other people who are in my situation creating content about this stuff, and they're not preparing you well. They're preparing you with the magic sales script, as if there is a such thing. You've got to come to the conversation prepared to frame their problem for them. That's what it means to be an expert. That's what it means to be an advisor. If you're trying to set yourself up to sell premium services and be a long-term solution partner for them, you've got to do a better job of understanding their real problem and solving for the real problem. And oftentimes, folks who sell digital marketing services, they default to, and this is important, let me make sure I kind of draw a line here so we can appreciate this. Oftentimes, you default to, let me grow your business. That becomes the default how to start a conversation. Let me help you grow your business. I want to help grow your business. And that doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. That's still a vague beginning. And truthfully, depending on what skills you bring to the table, growing their business is more difficult in application than it sounds. Sometimes what you offer doesn't immediately grow their business. That's an unfair conversation. What's better is if you're able to pinpoint the problem that they're faced with. That's a skill, and that involves more than just a clever sales script that you downloaded somewhere. You got to be more decisive about how these conversations start, begin and end. I'm not saying it well, but how the start, middle, and end of these conversations. You've got to be more decisive about that. If you need help, we can schedule time and talk about this stuff so we can figure out how it works inside your business. Okay. All right. So there are a couple of thoughts here. So Lynn, next agenda point here. I'm gonna cover. I said Lynn. Lynn's a client. Emily, hey Emily, would you please post the next agenda item? So there's a post in here. Hey, so you said, hey Lynn, I do that. Lynn said, I do that. Do what, Lynn? What do you do? Because you gave me the frowny face. What do you do? Oh, or maybe it's the thing above. I think you're talking about Jack's point. So let's do that. Okay. So I know it's Jack says, I know this has not been addressed a lot in the Facebook group, but is there a benefit to offering a minimum viable option? I believe that's what it's called, something to get prospects into the franchise. Right. Okay. So is there benefit? So foot in the door. This is a phrase you may have heard before. A foot in the door offering. The grow your business thing. Okay. All right. Let me stay focused. The foot in the door thing. Minimal viable option. There's other phrases for it. But in other words, do you offer this small service in order to kind of begin a relationship and then sell a larger service? Does that approach work? Absolutely. Totally. Most people deploy or execute that in a weird way. Simply, most people execute that from a very selfish point of view. So let me sell you X, that's $200, so I can sell you Y, that's $2,000 a little later, right? So, what will you buy today is the spirit of that strategy more often or most often. So you're on the phone, you're talking, right? And so what we do is $5,000. Well, I don't have $5,000. All right, well, do you have 200? So for $200, we can start the day with this little bitty thing. Man, we can say, that rhythm kind of takes place. And most folks don't want to be in that rhythm. That's not where you want to be. So I would challenge. So Jack asked the question, but I know that's a larger question than many folks are asking. I would challenge you to level up that entire idea. I would caution you against foot in the door strategies. You're not trying to get your foot in the door. You're trying to help them solve a problem. And so when you shift your framing to what's bothering you, business owner, what's stopping you, business owner, what's in the way, business owner, what's on your mind, business owner, when you're more comfortable and more strategic, more deliberate about asking those questions, and you listen more intensely, when you listen more actively to the response, you end up with a much different conversation. So that minimum viable offering thing, that foot in the door thing is very product focused. It's very, we sell a thing and we want to get them to buy it. And I'm trying to introduce and push a more client-centric focus, which is, what problem are you facing, sir? What's in the way, ma'am? What are you trying to get done here? And let's see if we can offer our thing to help get you on the path to a better way. In practicality, that may still be a minimum viable offer. But the way you talk about it, what they hear in response, what you charge for it becomes night and day. It's not this $200, let's just get started thing. It becomes a $2,000, let's fix this and then fix that kind of thing. And I'm telling you, you got to be more prepared when you get on the phone. It's not the kind of thing you can just kind of pitch it while you're on the phone. You got to be more serious about it, frankly. You got to be more serious about it. So thank you, Jack, for bringing that up. Okay, so moving on here. Next thing is about what does it mean to be of service when I sell? So you may have heard this, before. You should offer value when you're on the phone, and value is one of those buzzwords that makes me want to scream, because it's vague. It's often delivered without any level of specificity, and so we don't really know what value means. Even those of us who are in the marketing business, we don't really know what value really means. It's just a word we kind of toss around. So when someone says be of service and they say offer value, what the heck are we talking about? All right, let's do the short version first before we expand the idea. The most valuable thing you can help your client do when you're on the phone with them is help them address a problem. Is help them focus on a problem. That is the most valuable thing you can do, period, if we mean value. So having the confrontational question of what's going on here? What are you trying to get done? Now, I say confrontational. I don't mean that you got to yell it or scream it or say it in some rude way. But you do have to level up, you personally, because you're on the phone. You've got to level up, and you got to be okay asking that difficult question. So what's important here? Like, why does all this matter? Client, or prospective client, why do you even bother with this stuff? You've got to get more comfortable asking that hard question, and you've got to get more comfortable dealing with the response you get. The response you get may not be exactly what you want to hear, but you've got to get more comfortable getting to that place. And the sales script of the day is not going to help you get there. Scripts, they're all valuable in some way, but there's an attitude you got to have when you're on the phone. It's the attitude of an expert. It's the attitude of a doctor when a doctor sits with the patient. It's the attitude of a car mechanic when a car mechanic is sitting with you, when you come in, for work, they're telling you what's going on here. Listen, I know cars really, really well, and I know that you can't roll off this lot without getting this fixed. Hey, I'm a doctor. I've been doing this all my life. And here's what I know is that if you don't take this medicine, you are going to limp out of here or keep limping out of here. Listen, this issue is not going to get resolved unless you think about this the right way. And I know you think, prospective client, I know you think the problem is X, but that's not really the source of the problem. The source of the problem is over here. Now, what do you want to do about that? You want some medicine? You want to do some exercises? You want to try to do it yourself? What do you want? What do you want to do about that? Getting another person, because they're humans, right? You're human, they're human. Getting another person to that place is a very powerful thing. Now, you might get somebody to that place. You might get someone to that conversation, and they still don't buy anything from you. Okay, that is okay. But you've got to you can never sell anything. You'll never attract the right client. You'll have challenges with all clients that you bring in if you don't address the real problem before they enter on, before you bring them in, before they become a client. If you don't get to that core problem, if you don't really address the core problem, point to the core problem, then somewhere down the line, you're going to have some challenges. You know this because you have felt it before. You know this because you brought on clients that weren't the best and you didn't have the best arrangement. You know this because you felt the pain before. What I'm trying to do in this conversation is help highlight for you why that's been happening. And I'm trying to address what you have to do in order to resolve that. And again, I'm back to my core framework. You've got to make a decision about how you want client acquisition to work inside your business. You've got to decide that first before you can communicate that to a client. You've got to decide how you want client service to work. You've got to know how that works before you can describe it to a client. You got to know how client retention works before you can describe it to a client. So if you're not clear about that stuff, you got to make some decisions about that stuff. There's your blockage between where you are and where you want to be. And as we're discussing here, it's not a one shot, it's not a one question, one answer kind of thing. You got to sit back, be a leader, look at your business as a business, and begin to design some things. There you have it. So if you need help with that, we can have a conversation. There's a link you can click around here. Schedule some time. We'll have an honest conversation. I've got a formal program already spelled out, and we can see if the program that I offer will help you resolve. Okay. All right. Cool. So Emily, cue us up, and while Emily cues us up, I am going to look at some questions that are here because there are some good ones. If I can scroll up. Can I scroll? I don't know. I'm live. I don't know if I can scroll. Okay, so I see a question here. So let's see. There's a way to get to that question. There's got to be. All right, so I'm learning here live, folks. It looks like I'm only able to see like 4 or 5 questions at once, or 4 or 5 comments at once, which is kind of stinky. But I think I may figure it. Okay, all right. So Marion asked a question here. How does customer focus work in your copy, i.e. on your website? That's really a great question. Thank you for asking that, because many people think they know what that looks like or what that is, and they're wrong, and they don't know, and they stumble and bumble and blah 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 blah. Right? So the simplest way I can respond to that without going overboard is your content should be problem focused, not even customer focused. It should be problem focused. So I don't know exactly what business you're in, Marion, or what services, what exact services you sell, but for some reason YouTube marketing has just popped into mind for me. So for example, one of the problems that your client might be having is they might be trying to decide against platforms. They already make video, and they're trying to figure out which platform is a better platform, maybe Facebook for video or YouTube for video. So for example, you make some content that clearly posts those two things against each other, right? Listen, the problem you have, potential client, is you're trying to figure out which platform is best for your video, platform A or platform B. Well, let me give you the pros and cons. Platform A offers these, platform B offers these. There you go. There's your outline, right? The next problem might be, let's kind of think through that. The next problem might be getting clients or getting customers from their content. So they got video content made. They put it up a couple of places, but there's no traction. There's no interest. There's no, they're getting some responses, but they're not getting any business from it. And so now the problem is, how do I get business from my existing video presence? And so now let's look at that prospective client in content. Let's look at that prospective client, how you could get business from your existing presence. It could be A way or B way or C way, and here's how those might, right? So what we are beginning with the problem. Now those are good places to start. The better you know your prospective client, the deeper you can have that conversation. We can go really deep with that, but your content is better when it's problem focused, even better than being client focused if it's problem focused. I hope that's helpful. Okay. So what do we have here? So okay, so Jack's asking a question here. His big idea was stop playing the same game as everyone else. Prospects are used to sales reps attempting to contact them 3 times and then giving up. If that's how you operate, you simply won't get their attention. My rule of thumb is to call at least 9 times. They can ignore all 9 attempts. Okay, right. So Jack is making a basic point about follow-up. So yes, if that's how you do follow-up, picking up the phone and calling people, that's a thing. That's a skill. Add to that, what I would add to that note is develop some sort of permission-based mechanic inside your business. So inside client acquisition, this thing called client acquisition, how people come into your world. Inside client acquisition is some sort of permission-based something. They register for something, they opt in for something, they say yes to something, and then you can begin a relationship from there. So that begins an inbound kind of mechanic. So somewhere in your world, there should be an inbound mechanic in addition to your outbound. The inbound mechanic makes following up easier because they've said they wanted more information. All right, we could do that. We can do a long thing on that, but let's keep going. Oh, got it. I got you, Jack. Jack was he was responding to a comment somebody else made. Excellent. Okay, so now what else we got? Also see what time it is. All right, good deal. Great. How do I follow up? Oh, great. Yeah. How do I follow up after having a conversation with a prospective client? How do I follow up after having a conversation with a prospective client? Okay. I'm going to assume that this is an inbound conversation. All right. Actually, we'll do it both ways, but I'll do inbound first. So in other words, this person has volunteered. They've raised their hand and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you more. Hey, I'd like more information. Hey, tell me more," or whatever. Right. Your process for client acquisition will determine what their responses are or could be. But I'm going to assume that you've had that inbound. So they came in. Now you're on the phone. You've had a conversation. What do you do next? Okay. All right. Part of this is determined by specifically what problem they told you about and the urgency of that problem. So for some people, they have a problem, they kind of feel something, but it's not urgent yet, and so that's okay. For other people, what they have is urgent, and it's in their best interest that you reflect that urgency to them. Hey, if we hang up and you still have that problem, it's going to hurt really, really bad. Are you sure you just want to hang up, or should we kind of figure this out? What do you think? Right? So, okay. But let's say you've hung up. Now what? Okay. Your client acquisition process continues to work. Right? So you've already got a process for how to do follow-up, right? It's not this thing you have to now go rush and do. Oh crap, how do we follow up with them? Let's go find a magic template. Right? You already have a process, right? So if they're inbound, there's a newsletter you're already sending. There is a follow-up sequence that they've already opted into. There's something that you're already doing inside your business. It's the process you designed. You keep working it. Isn't that easy? Isn't it just an easier answer? Like, isn't that just easier to think through, right? If you've already designed it, right? If you haven't designed it, now you got to scramble. Okay. If you're doing outbound, right? So you call somebody and say, hey, yeah, do you have a few minutes? Yeah, I got a few minutes. Let's talk now. You talk now. You've had the good conversation, but they aren't ready now to move forward for whatever of many good reasons that there might be. So now what do you do, right? What do you do now? So for most folks, and folks like Jack who have done this before, who have called, and a follow-up, you put folks on a schedule. So you call them 2 weeks later, you call them 1 week later, or maybe you call them every 2 weeks, or maybe you call them every month, and a call list develops. It's still a process. It's still a system, a client acquisition system. It's still a system. So you put folks on a call list and you call them. Now, when you call the next time, right, it's not a matter of hard selling. There's already some degree of relationship, and you're following up on the problem they told you about. So, hey, Jeffrey, good to talk to you today. Remember the last time we talked, I got some notes here, that your problem was X? Are you moving forward with X, or how is that going? Have you hired some help, not hired some help? Just looking for an update here, Jeffrey. And he'll tell you. He'll tell you yes, he'll tell you no, he'll just tell you, right? But you got to keep calling, though. If you don't keep calling, if whatever your rhythm happens to be, every month or every week, whatever, if you don't keep calling, that's your fault, right? Bad system, right? That's your fault. All right, keep rolling. What else? Good to go. Hey, listen. All this sounds great. This is really good stuff, right? If you got to a place where you know you need help, hey, listen, hey, all this sounds wonderful, but figuring all this out by myself, hard. The headache I have right now, Jose, is pounding like this. If that's where you are, you can schedule a conversation. If you're in the Facebook group, there's a link you can click right now to schedule that conversation. If you're watching this on some other platform, that there's a training you need to see to better understand how our program works. And so you can watch that training, understand the program, and then we can get on the phone together and make sure that what I have fit your unique situation. But what I'm after are solving your problems. I'm after helping you as a business owner look at your business, make some very strategic choices: client acquisition, client service, client retention, so you can move on. That's what I'm after. And I'm after getting you there as fast as appropriate, as fast as humanly possible. I want to get you there quickly. I don't want it to become some 6-year thing where you got to figure it out along the way. So the program is designed that way. I'd love to talk with you about it. Hey, you know what to do. There's a link. Click it. Schedule some time. Let's figure it out. All right. Wonderful. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns, I know we got a delay. I'm learning that here. So I'll give it 30 seconds. If folks have thoughts, if folks have questions, yeah. While that's happening, let me say thank you. So if you've gotten to this part in the broadcast here, it's been 48 minutes as I can see. I appreciate you for hanging in all this time. I appreciate you for talking back to me here to make sure that what I'm talking about is useful to you, because there's no reason for this if it's not useful to you. There's no reason for this. We can never do this ever again. I'm okay with that. So as long as this is useful to you, I'm excited to keep doing it. So however we have to edit this so that it is useful to you, or change the format so that it is useful to you, I'm open to that. That matters to me. So thank you. Thank you for staying engaged. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for thinking about your business as a business and not just some side hobby, some clever biz op thing, some whatever. Thank you for seeing your business as a business and working it to that effect. Your clients respect that. Your clients appreciate that. I think there are a lot more people out here who, goodness, there's enough slick stuff in digital marketing services, and we need more true business owners, more true leaders in this space, providing real value, real tangible, practical daily value for their clients. So thank you for thinking about things in that way. Okay, so look so far that we're good. I'm closing us out. Thanks again. See you next week. Take care.